Ladies and gentlemen, hello. Scridius here, and this is a video for finding the volume or the height of a cylinder. So this is volume of a cylinder number 2. Okay, so if you haven't watched the first video for volume of a cylinder, go back and watch that, and then you can come back to this one. Okay, guys, so for this video, we're going to be talking about finding the volume of a cylinder, but we're going to be talking about it in a little bit different way because we're going to be focused on, well, what if we already have the volume and we're given what the volume is, but we actually don't know what the height of the cylinder is. Okay, so some of you might say, Gradius, this is easy, you just plug it into your formula and solve, but some of us it might be a little bit more difficult to see. So, for this particular cylinder, I've been given a volume of 1,205.8. Okay, and again, there's no unit of measurement here, so I'm going to call this, here, let me move this over, make this look a little bit better here, volume, and then let's just say that this is cubic inches. Okay, so we're dealing with inches here. So what I need to do is I'm going to use my volume formula, and I'm going to use my volume formula to figure out what the height of this cylinder is. I know what the radius is, I know what the volume is, but I do not know how tall this cylinder is. So if we go back to our volume of a cylinder formula, volume of a cylinder is area of the base times the height. Okay, and if we wanted to extend that out even further, the area of the base of a cylinder is a circle, so the area of a circle is pi r squared times the height. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in the values I know here, and then I'm going to solve for my height because I don't know the height. So I know what my volume is. Okay, so I can substitute in volume here for V, 1,205.8, and that's equal to pi times my radius squared times height. Well, my radius is 4, and I don't know what the height is. So now I have an equation, and I can solve my equation for h. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start simplifying. Okay, and yes, we can use a calculator to help us simplify. And I'm going to first use my order of operations. I still need to evaluate my exponent before I start doing anything else. So I'm going to evaluate my exponent, 4 squared, and that's going to give me 16 pi times h is still equal to 1,205.8. Notice how I'm bringing everything down. Even though I know a lot of you guys can do this in your head or you're using a calculator, or however you're doing it, we still need to show all of our steps, and we need to bring everything else down to help us show what we need to solve in our equation next. Okay. Now what I want to do is I can do 16 times pi, and if we remember, pi is equal to 3.14. Okay. So I can do 16 times pi, and this is where you can use a calculator. Just plug it in, 16 times 3.14 in your calculator, and you'll get 50.24 times h, and all that is still equal to 1,205.8. So far, we haven't actually changed anything from when we're trying to find the volume of a cylinder. Now, my last step would normally be either to multiply by pi or multiply by my height, but I don't have a height. So what I want to do is I need to solve for h, and I need to recognize this is a one-step equation. I've got 50.24 times something equals 1,205.8. So if I just divide both sides by the same thing, they cancel out. And this would give me my height. Okay? And again, this is where we just plug in our calculator. Notice how we're still showing those steps, even though we're using a calculator. Okay? So I'm going to do 1,205.8. I'm going to divide it by 50 and 2400ths. And I'm going to get some big old decimal. I'm going to write it over here. It's going to be 24.00000. It's like 3 zeros and 7962. So just for the sake of this, I'm going to round, and I'm just going to leave it at 24.00, and there's my height. So my height is 24 inches. Okay, so not too much different than what we were doing the first time when we were solving, when we were finding the volume of a cylinder, but now we just have to do a little division at the very end instead of just multiplying the whole time. Let's look at another example. Okay, so again, I have my volume of a cylinder. I'm given my radius and my diameter right here. So I'm actually given the diameter, but from my diameter I can find my radius, and I'm trying to find the height. And again, let's just call this inches cubed. So this would be inches. So what I want to do is I want to use my formula, volume equals pi r squared, area of my base, times the height. Okay. And I need to substitute the values I know. I know the volume is 4,417.9. And that is equal to pi times my radius squared times the height. I don't know the height, so I'm using h. You could use x if you prefer, if you don't like h. Okay, it doesn't matter. So I've got to figure out what my radius is. Let's see. I'm given the length between one end of the circle to the other. That is not a radius. That is my diameter. The radius is half of this because the radius will stop in the middle. Okay, so there's my radius. So I got to figure out what is half of 15. Okay, and I can just plug that in my calculator because that's 15 divided by 2. And that's going to give me 7.5. Okay, so 7.5 squared. So here is my equation. The most important piece, you guys, is setting this up properly. Is if I were to plug in 15 here, obviously I'm going to be completely wrong. So we've got to make sure we have our radius. Okay, now I have to do 7.5 squared first. Okay, if I don't do 7.5 squared first, then I'm not going to, then I'm going to be in trouble. Okay, so I need to do 7.5 times 7.5, and I got 56.25 in my calculator. So I'm going to bring everything down. I haven't done anything on the left side of my equal sign yet, so I'm bringing that down. That's equal to pi times 56.25 times my height. Now I'm still trying to simplify, so I'm going to multiply here, 56.25 times 3.14. I'm multiplying by pi. Okay, I'm going to get 176.625 h. That's still equal to 4,417.9. And now, because I've multiplied, just like again, I found the area of this circle, the area of my base. The area of this base is 176.625. But I still have to multiply by the height to find the volume of this whole cylinder. I don't know what the height is, but I know what the volume is. Okay, so now what I want to do is, in order to find the height, I would just divide in order to cancel everything out by what I've worked out so far. Okay, now I know we're looking at this like, man, we're dividing some really big numbers here, but at the end of the day, with the calculators, it makes it very, very easy. Okay, and so I got to plug in 4,417.9. And guys, when you're multiplying or dividing these big numbers with the calculator, actually look at it. Look at the number that you plug in and make sure you plugged it in right. It's pretty easy to make a simple mistake. Okay, and when you divide, you'll get 25.0128, and it kind of keeps going, equals my height. I'm going to round this to the nearest hundredth, and that's going to give me 25.01, because this 2 makes this 1 just stay the same. It does not round up. And that is my height. Okay, and I'm done. All right, I'll show one more example, and then this will be the last one for the video, okay? So here's a word problem. So a cylindrical aquarium has a volume of 20,000 gallons of water. Okay, so right away, it's describing a cylinder. Cylindrical is a describing word for a shape. So it's telling us that this aquarium is in the shape of a cylinder. So if I wanted to draw a picture, I can real quick. If we struggle with drawing cylinders, I'm sorry. Okay, but so right away we have a cylinder. Okay, and the volume of this cylinder is 20,000. So I already know I'm given the volume in my first sentence right here. The base of the tank has a radius of 10 feet. So the base of the tank, that's the circle. The area, that's the circle. The circle is the base of a cylinder. Has a radius of 10 feet. Okay, how tall is the aquarium? What's the height? Okay, so that was it. Not too bad already. So what we're going to do is we are going to set up our formula. Okay, so if I know volume is 20,000, and I know my formula is pi r squared, area of the base, times the height. So I'm substituting 20,000 pi times my radius squared times height. My radius is 10. Okay, so even though it's a word problem, you guys, this word right here tells us what the shape is. So it is a cylinder. It gives us our volume, and it gives us our radius. So it's the same exact thing. Okay, so now I can go ahead and start solving. 10 squared is 100. So I have 100 times pi times h. That's equal to 20,000. Okay, now I can do 100 times 3.14. And luckily, I don't need a calculator for that. If you need a calculator, you're good. But that's just 314 times my height equals 20,000. And then now I can take 20,000 and divide it by 314. And if I take 20,000, again, double check to make sure you plug in the right amount of zeros in your calculator, and I divide it by 314, I will get 63.694 equals h, and I'm going to use this 4 to keep it at just 63.69. And there's the height of this aquarium. It's 63 feet tall. Okay? And that's it, guys. So no different than what we've been doing in the past. So just make sure you solve your equation, but you still have to plug everything in and show all the steps of solving that equation, even though you have a calculator. If you don't do that, you're not going to get credit. And thanks for watching. If you guys have any questions, please let me know.